Hey there, everyone. Art Burns here. Hope you're all having a great day today. So, I've heard it said before that the world exists within our nervous systems, which I always thought was really fascinating to think about. And another way that you could look at this is that your thoughts create the world around you. Right now, of course, it'd be nice to think like, okay, I could just think about, a brand new car and all of a sudden it would appear in my driveway. And that's not really what we mean when we say that, right? That the thoughts create the world around us. But what we mean instead is that what we think about is what we are likely to see in the world around us. Right? So, in other words, if you think that you're going to have a really productive and really happy day ahead of you, right? If you really presently and intentionally think that, then chances are that's what you're going to find yourself having. You're going to feel, good about what's going on. You're going to feel, even if things arise that are not necessarily positive for you, you're going to have a sense of like, well, this is just an obstacle I have to get around to get my great day, right? As opposed to if you think that you're going to have a really hard day, a really bad day, then chances are little obstacles might come up and you're like, you see, the universe is conspiring against me and I'm just like not destined to have a good day today. And I'm just, things are just not going well for me. Right? And the same thing could be true for many, many instances in our lives, right? But specifically, and perhaps most importantly, is in the interpersonal relationships that we have and interpersonal experiences that we have in our lives, right? For instance, if you think that you're going to, or if you're thinking of the person that you're talking to in a certain way, then that is the person that you're going to wind up talking to. Let me explain what I mean again. So let's say you have, let's say you're having a conversation with one of your children, right? And if you're thinking of your child as this disrespectful and difficult and troubling person in your life, then what you are going to experience is that person, right? But if you think of your child as this loving, beautiful, sweet child that makes mistakes, then that is what you're going to see. Right? So the idea is that when we're kind of, how we hold someone's, sort of essence in our mind, that's the thing that we're going to see. And what we're going to do is our brains are going to physically filter out all of the details that contradict this notion that we have of of whoever it is that we're talking about. And again, whatever it is we're going through in our lives, right? If we think that today is going to be a beautiful, wonderful day, then we're going to filter out the evidence that maybe it's not such a great day, right? But conversely, and much more commonly, if we think that today is just going to be a hard day, it's you wake up on a Monday morning, you're tired, it's a rough week ahead, and you're just thinking like, oh, this is going to be a terrible day. It's Monday. I don't like Mondays, and that's automatic thinking, right? Then chances are you are going to only see the evidence of the difficulty in your life, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to experience more difficulty in your life. It means that you're going to notice the difficulty in your life, right? This ties into the implicit biases that we have in our minds, right? I talk about this a lot because it's very, very important. The biases are not only, sort of physiological, genealogical, defense mechanisms like the negativity bias, right? Where we're much, much more likely to notice the difficulties and the challenges and the dangers in our lives than we are to notice the happy things in our lives, right? So like, if you're, you spend all day, talking to people and having great conversations and wonderful, interactions with people, and you're feeling like this heartfelt, gratitude for your life, right? But you see one fist fight, you're going to remember that fist fight all day. But you're not going to remember all those beautiful conversations that you had, right? That's the negativity bias, right? But that is something that's just wired into us, right? That you can't really get rid of that. All you can do is counteract it with intentional thoughts. But we're going to get to that in a second. There are many, many other implicit biases that happen that are based on our experiences, right? Whether it's our own experience or the experiences of those who raised us, right? But at some point in our lives, we have determined that Mondays are hard, that children are disrespectful, that bosses are mean, that police officers are just there to hurt us or to kind of give us a hard time, right? When we get pulled over for a ticket or something like that, right? Like this is how we through repetition and through the thoughts of the repetition of the thoughts in these experiences, we have formed these biases, and they become very automatic, right? Anything that is an implicit bias means that it's happening in the subconscious of your mind, right? Which means that it's completely and utterly automatic, right? And so again, the only way to combat these things is with intentional thoughts and intentional actions, right? But again, we're going to get to that in just a second, right? I want to talk first more about how this all works, right? Like I just mentioned, so the whole life, right? We are from when we're very, very young children, right? We are put into this cycle of feeling like, okay, Saturday and Sunday are the days where, like you wake up Saturday morning, you get to watch cartoons all morning, and mom and dad might be sleeping a little extra and you get to go get your own cereal, and it's like this magical time, right? And then Sunday is, maybe you're getting together with family every Sunday or something like that. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just a day where, you and your parents spend a little extra time together, whatever it is, these are seen as really positive things. And then all of a sudden, boom, Monday comes, right? And you got to go back to school, and you got to get back into the routine, the daily grind, right? Which is starting when we're like 5 years old, right? And so from the time when you're about 5 years old, you are trained to see Monday as this first step away from all of this pleasure. Right? So therefore, by the time you get to the point of being in your 30s or 40s or even 20s, and you're in this job cycle, and you're going through this, this kind of work and all this kind of cycle of your life, right? Every Monday morning, that automatic thing is going to come up, right? Where you're thinking like, oh, Saturday and Sunday is over, and now I got to go back to all the boring stuff that I don't like to do, right? And so therefore, every Monday morning, you are going to wake up thinking that today is going to stink. Right? It's just natural, right? And that's what you've practiced, right? And so therefore, when you go through your day, right? Everything that you see, you're going to be thinking like, oh, this is supposed to stink. And you're not doing this, intentionally, but this is just, how you're kind of approaching the entire day, right? That this is going to stink. This is going to be hard. This is going to be challenging. This is going to be difficult, right? And as you're thinking all of this, that is what you're going to see. Okay, the mind and the physical brain are basically a filtering process, right? Like there's no way for you to possibly consciously pay attention to every bit of data that your brain picks up through your five senses, right? It's impossible because it's way too much. It's something like, I don't know, it's millions of bits of information like per minute or per second. It's like absolutely astounding the amount of information that we're taking up. Right, like so. Right now, I'm looking into this the lens of this camera, right, and I'm talking to you. But at the same time, my periphery is looking at the carpet over there on the floor, right. So my brain is picking that up right now, right. Of course, now I've chosen to, and I'm not breaking my concentration here, right. And I'm not breaking my eye contact or my focus on any kind of level. But my brain is choosing now, or I am consciously choosing to notice that peripheral vision of that carpet down there, right? But my brain is picking up everything that I'm seeing, right? So it's impossible for your brain to consciously, process all of that data. You would never be able to move. You would never be able to function. It's just impossible. So therefore, your brain acts as this huge filter, right? And it's basing everything on what it remembers and what it kind of knows to be true, which it knows things to be true based on the memories and the repetition and the sort of programming that we've gone through for our whole lives, right? And so that's where Monday morning is supposed to stink. So everything that your brain experiences on Monday morning, it's going to filter out the beautiful, wonderful things, because Monday morning is just a concept, a construct of our minds, right? Yeah, it is the day where we have to go back to work and all that, right? But that's all just this construct of how we perceive things, right? Monday morning is really no different from Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning or Friday morning, right? The difference is that we're comparing it to Sunday morning, which is a day where it's really beautiful, right? But the fact that it comes right after doesn't make it any worse. And it doesn't make Friday any better just because the next day we get to go, we get to sleep in again, right? I mean, I guess there's something to be said about Friday because, Friday night you could stay out late because you don't have to get up for work the next day. But it's really a fine line, right? And so the idea is that, based on our own experiences and our own thoughts about these experiences, right? The comparison, because that comparison alone is part of the implicit bias, right? We only think of Monday as a bad day because Sunday is such a good day, right? And we only think of Friday as such a good day because Monday is such a bad day. Right? And so Friday's the opposite of Monday, right? It's the day before 2 days off, whereas Monday's the day after 2 days off. One we're seeing as good, one we're seeing as bad. But really, they're just days, right? And obviously, I don't want to get into anything macabre here, but bad things can happen on Friday. And bad things can happen on Saturdays and Sundays too, right? Like, we can experience difficulty in any of these times, right? Just like we can experience joy and happiness in any of these times, right? So now this again, when we think about Monday, or we think about, walking through life and seeing, like, whether we're going to notice the beauty of life and the excitement that life provides us, or we're going to notice the challenges and the dismal parts of life, right? It's all based, again, on how we're sort of, like, again, if you're having a hard time with, financial trouble, right? Then that's going to cast a sort of cloud over everything that you do, right? And everything that you see. And so therefore, you're not going to see, a beautiful drive into the mountains as something that could really rejuvenate you. You're going to see it as, well, the gas that it's going to take to get up there. Right? That's what you're going to notice. So even though that drive in the mountain might be exactly what you need to get you out of the thing that you're going through, right? To get you into a more positive outlook about your finances, and therefore perhaps give you the creative resources to improve your situation, you're not going to go because you're thinking about, oh, it's going to cost too much in gas. Right, which of course is a logistical thing, and I'm not saying, like, if you don't have the money you can't do it, right? But there's other things that you can obviously do, right? But that's my point is that that's what you're going to think, right? You're going to think not about that rejuvenating, amazing, recharging trip to the mountains. You're going to be thinking about the gas that it costs to get up there. Right? And that's the way we're talking about. But again, this really, really impacts our interpersonal experiences. Right? And I don't care what you do, whether you're a parent, whether you're married, you're single, you're you're a manager, or you report to a manager, whatever, or you're a business owner, right? Everything that you do in any station of life that you occupy, you are going to be impacted by this sort of thought-based filtering, and this thought-based, bias that's going to happen with every conversation you have, right? So let's go over a couple of examples, and then I'm going to give you a really, really helpful way to overcome this, okay? So the first thing, so let's just talk about a couple of examples really quick. So again, a lot of times, as parents, right, we might feel that, our children are, challenging, and they can be, right? I'm lowering my voice because I don't want my children to hear me say this, because I don't want them to think of themselves as challenging, because they're not, right? It's not them that's challenging. It's the idea that I would rather be doing something other than, whatever it's required of me to do for my children, right? So it's not my children that are the problem. It's my perception that's the problem. right? So again, if I see my child as something that is a demand, a leech, a drain on my energy, well, then that's what I'm going to see when I'm talking to my child, right? And most importantly, that is how I'm going to interact with my child. Right? I'm going to use words and body language and tone of voice that's going to, imply that my child is a difficult person in my life, right? Which then my child's going to think that he or she is a difficult person in my life, and then that's the implicit bias and memory that we're forming with my child, and that's something that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their lives, right? And so very importantly, right, and again, this could happen, like, let's say you have someone, you're a manager, and someone at work is not performing the way they need to perform, right? If you're going to just look at this person who's frustrated you with failure and shortcomings, and you have that conversation from that place, well, then you're going to talk to this person, and you're going to interact with this person with that bias, and you're going to make that person feel the way that you feel about them. And then what's going to happen is, no matter what it is, the reason for this person's performance, you're going to push them further down. You're not going to lift them up. So ultimately, it's not about being right or being wrong. It's about getting the most out of your employee, right? It's about having a good conversation, a good relationship with your children, right? So it's not about whether, you see, my child is just too demanding. You see, this employee is just a failure. It's about getting the results. Right, and the best way to get the results is to connect with these people in a way that is wholesome and kind of kind and supportive, right? So here's a great way that we can sort of address this, especially with interpersonal relationships, right? But this can happen in any other area too, right? What we want to do is we want to simply bring some intention into the equation here, right? So when you're about to talk to your child about something, right? And with children, it's maybe a little harder because they come at you all of a sudden. They don't make appointments to come and ask you for things, right? But try to remind yourself, right? And it's obviously something much easier to do with like a work meeting, right? Because that's something that's planned. But as much as you can, before you speak to your child, right? Try to look at your child not as this source of difficulty, but look at your child as, try to remember that first moment you held your child in your arms, right? And if it's an adopted child, that first moment you laid your eyes on this child that was going to be part of your life for the rest of your life, right? That remember that feeling that you had about your child at that moment. Right? Or remember a time where you're really proud of your child, or a time when you just really connected with them, right? And now think about that for a few moments. And now open your eyes and talk to your child, right? And that is the child that you're going to see, even if there's someone who's got, like chocolate all over them, and there's chocolate all over the kitchen or whatever, right? Like, you're still going to see that beautiful, flawless, amazing human being that you held in your arms when they were less than a minute old, right? Same thing with your spouse, right? If as we go through life with spouses, we go through many, many years of ups and downs. And so sometimes we might have this sort of preconceived notion about our spouses being someone who, you didn't do the dishes, or you didn't, do this, or whatever, you're the source of this, whatever, right? So instead, try to take a few moments before you talk to your spouse, right? And just remember how it was when you were, really in love with that spouse. And hopefully you still feel that, but just focus on that. Right? Focus on, maybe your wedding day, or focus on the day of the birth of your child if you have children, or focus on what attracted you to your spouse when you first met them, right? Like think about that, the very first time you laid eyes on the person you came to marry, right? And if you're single, it's maybe with your friends, or maybe it's with, again, if you're getting pulled over, we talk about police, right? If you're getting pulled over, before the police officer approaches the car, remember that this police officer has this job to do, right? And he or she might not be very happy in their job, right? It might be something they regret doing. It might be something, likewise, maybe they're doing this job because they were, treated unfairly as children, and they have this level of aggression with them, right? And so that's why they want the power role of a police officer. Whatever it is, right? Just try to remember, try to picture this person in a place of vulnerability. Right? And if it's somebody at work, right? Instead of, like before a meeting with somebody who's performing poorly, or before a meeting with your supervisor, your manager, take a few moments and just think of this person as someone who is, again, vulnerable, right? So if it's somebody who's performing poorly at work, know that this person is a person just like you are, right? And there's very likely to be some underlying reason for their performance. Maybe they're having a hard time with somebody. Maybe someone in their life is sick. Maybe, maybe they're just not happy in their overall life, and it's affecting the work, right? And when you can look at this person as someone who is, just trying to be happy and just, experiencing this suffering, then that's the person you're going to connect with. Right? And when you connect with that person, now you have a chance to lift them up and to say, well, what is it that I can do for you to help you to perform better, so that you don't have to have this other problem on your life, right? Which is loss of a job or what have you, right? So it's these little intentional moments. And again, you can do the same thing Monday morning. You can just wake up Monday morning and tell yourself, it's just another day. It's no different from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. It's just another day, right? And if it's raining outside, or if it's cold outside, remember that it will one day be warm again. That the reason it's raining is because the earth needs the rain, and it's going to produce plants that are going to give us oxygen. Things like this, just taking a few moments and just looking at the other side of what it is that you're seeing. Right? Like if you're seeing a gray, cold Monday morning, right? It's just like, oh, it's terrible. Think of the fact that, that there are other Mondays which are gloriously beautiful, and you can't wait to get out of your house, right? And remind yourself again that Monday morning is just a label that we put on things. It's not really any different from any other day of the week. Right? And reminding yourself about these things from time to time, right? That, yeah, your body might be tired, but you'll have rest later, right? These kind of things, like just kind of intentionally thinking about the positive angle of things. It's not getting rid of the negative, right? It's not saying that it still is, a busy day. It still is raining. It still is cold. Doesn't mean you have to like that. But by shifting your attitude towards it, you're going to then allow yourself to get through this day in the best way possible, rather than, making it even worse for yourself. All right. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you really found that helpful today. If you have any questions, or if you want to talk more about these practices, I know I give you this really simple thing. There's ways that you can maybe cultivate this a little bit more with steady practice to the point where it becomes automatic. Okay. And if you'd like to learn about that, I really encourage you to reach out and get in touch with me, because this can all be done very, very quickly, and it's a fun process too. So let me know, okay? Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I wish you well, and I'll be back again tomorrow. See you soon. Take care.